to begin with police action, a lot of it, in the story of a rising superstar named David and his dead underage girlfriend named Celeste Rivas Hernandez. We have heard it before, and we heard it again just last night, that Celeste ran away from her family again and again for a reason. Reports said that the girl's home life was troubled. Her middle school boyfriend, before she ran off with David, said that her mother treated her badly and that she often talked about running away. And now TMZ has the receipts of repeated police visits to Celeste's family home in Lake Elsinore, California, 70 miles away from the Hollywood Hills, where Celeste sought refuge in David's mansion. TMZ has learned that the Riverside County Sheriff's Department responded to calls about Celeste's family or from Celeste's family about 11 times in a little over a year. The dates are February 2024 to April 2025. And remember, the family reported Celeste missing for the last time in April of 2024. So those calls continued for a year while she was ostensibly missing. And until this week, we believed that April of 2024 was the last time that they'd seen each other, right? Celeste and her family. But now we know different. And I'm going to come back to that in a hot minute. All of the police visits were listed as, quote, minor crime investigation, except for one of them. And that one was described as, quote, suspicious circumstances. Again, no details available from the police, but the dates of these calls speak volumes. 3 of the calls happened on one day, March 19th, 2024, which, by the way, yeah, that's the day that Celeste ran away. She was caught on surveillance camera in a neighborhood liquor store, running down the street at 7 a.m. A black car was seen pulling out after her, but it's not clear if Celeste had gotten into it. This was just something that happened that the liquor store owner saw, but it wasn't caught on tape. 2 of the 3 visits that day were to Celeste's home. Cops came to her home 2 times, but the 3rd visit that police made was to that liquor store. Celeste's sister also visited that liquor store on that day and asked to review that surveillance video. One of the other police visits that TMZ documented was at 9:29 p.m. on April 5th, 2024. That time is about a half hour after the family reported her missing to the police for the very last time. So they report her missing at 9 p.m. and at 9:30 the police are at their door. Officially, Celeste was still missing when her badly decomposed remains were found here in this impound lot in the front trunk of David's Tesla. This was 23 days ago. But was Celeste really still missing without a trace at this point? The other day, TMZ acquired video of Celeste in her parents' backyard on September 8th of 2024. That's 5 months after she supposedly ran off for the last time. And it's also 1 day after her 14th birthday. Amazingly, the coincidence here is that it was 1 year to the day that her remains were discovered in David's trunk. This video was shot and released by neighbors. A different neighbor who heard the argument spoke with our Banfield producers on the ground in Lake Elsinore just today. Have a look.
The first time I saw her, she was walking down the street early in the morning. It was during the colder months, I remember. It was just a 1 second. I was driving down the street and I saw her like big, beautiful curls. And I'm like, oh, that little girl's so pretty. And then I just went on my way. But that was probably like maybe 6 months before she went missing the first time in February 2024. And then I saw her, well, I didn't see her again. I heard her again when she came in through the apartments. But yeah, I didn't know she was the missing child from next door. I have lived here since February of 2023, so almost 3 years. I've never met the family. I don't know their names. I don't know how many people live there. I just know there was a lot of cars parked out usually, at least 5 cars in the driveway, most of the time, most of the days. But I don't know who the family is. My backyard peers into their backyard, and I can also see their driveway, the front yard. I've never heard or seen police officers at their house. At any time, I think I would have noticed that, unless it was late at night where I was asleep, but I never noticed any police activity at Celeste's home. So the video circulating with Celeste coming into the apartments being a little upset, that video was only released to pinpoint her timeline of her missing. And that's the only reason why it was released, because on September 8th, 2024, she was technically still missing.
You bet. And again, I want to reiterate, September 8th, 2024, 1 year later, she'd be found dead in the trunk on that very day. And it's also the day after her 14th birthday that she was in that backyard. So maybe she was home celebrating her 14th birthday the day before. Our producer spent most of this day in that neighborhood where Celeste lived, but where Celeste could not wait to leave. Have a look at what they found.
Celeste was a frequent customer at this liquor store. The cashier tells us she appeared often after school with friends and alone. She also appeared one time on security camera footage after she had been reported missing. And we thought that was the last time we had seen Celeste. But just up the street is the house where she appeared later on security camera footage arguing with her neighbors. This is the property where Celeste was seen arguing on surveillance footage with her neighbors after being reported missing. But despite that argument, just next door is Celeste's memorial. It's grown in recent days. You can see the candles there and the poster board there and this new banner bearing her face. And just next door to this memorial is Celeste's home, which we now hear that police came to 11 different times for disturbances.
One of the owners of the liquor store told our producers today that they had seen police headed in the direction of Celeste's home on multiple occasions, but they couldn't confirm if the police actually stopped at Celeste's home. Celeste's parents haven't been seen at that home since her body was identified, and they've spoken in public only one time. If you have followed the story online, you probably saw the speculation that Celeste's mother or her father maybe were undocumented immigrants, and maybe that's why they went underground, fearing that they would be grabbed. Who knows? But I can tell you this. We can now report exclusively that both of her parents are in the United States legally. Records acquired by private investigator Steve Fisher show that both of them received Social Security numbers around the date 2001. Our producer spoke with another woman today who did not want to be identified on camera, but said that she's a former neighbor of the family. She said they all lived in public housing from 2019 to 2020. And she said she occasionally heard Celeste's parents arguing, and often about custody of their children, though there's no indication that they are divorced. The woman said that Celeste was a sweet little girl whose mom would keep her close at all times.
And new at 11 here, a tragic discovery in the city of Vallejo. Police confirming the body of a missing woman has been found hidden inside the wall of a home. And tonight, a suspect has been taken into custody. Her disappearance triggered an ebony alert issued by CHP, and now her loved ones are grappling with the devastating news. Betty Yu has the story.
What did she do to you for you to kill her and then put her in a wall? When he said, "We found your daughter," I just collapsed. I was like, I can't believe this. And I was praying. I said, God, please don't let it be her. Please don't let it be her. And he did not answer my prayer.
It was the news no one in 28-year-old Renia Lewis's family wanted to hear. Police found her body behind a wall inside this home on 14th Street in Vallejo. Her mother last texted her on Friday and thought it was unusual not to get a response.
When they found her body behind the wall. They nailed her body behind the wall.
Vallejo police announced late Tuesday that they had arrested Douglas Shaw. It's still unclear what his relationship is to Renia or to the home.
The person that they have in custody is being cooperative. Stated that he did indeed kill R.N.R. He threw her phone on top of the school. That's the most information that I have.
Police now have R.N.R's phone, which her family says last pinged at this address. Her mother used the Life 360 app to track her final location, and her cousin LaToya helped lead the family's search in the area.
R.N.R. was the best loving person. The girl loved to cook. She loved her family.
Since they began sharing flyers with her mother's number, the family has received numerous prank calls, people pretending to be R.N.R, luring her mother to false addresses and demanding money.
I am devastated. That's my youngest daughter. Her birthday is on Monday. She would have been 29.
R.N.R's family and friends say they don't know anything about that house where she was found or the people who may live there. They did say it wasn't unusual for her to be in Vallejo, but they are not familiar with that address. In Vallejo, Betty Yu, KTVU, Fox 2 News.
He still was sitting for some reason, like he didn't know what was going on. I shot the gun 2 times in the air to ask him. He still didn't know what was going on.
A man from Florida is facing charges after a woman here found him asleep in her home early yesterday morning. That woman tells Roskadati she grabbed her gun and dragged the sleepy stranger out.
Put yourself in Dominique Peoples' shoes. She's sleeping in her house and she hears someone snoring. That's normally not a big deal. She has 2 children. However, they weren't in the house. What did she discover? Well, someone inside her daughter's bedroom sleeping. And she didn't know who he was. What happened next was her, as she put it, simply taking care of business. Around 4:30 Sunday morning, Dominique Peoples says she knew something wasn't quite right inside her Haverhill Street home in the East Hills section of Pittsburgh.
Someone was laying in my daughter's room.
And according to police, that someone was a 23-year-old by the name of Miguel Angel Meza of Miami, Florida.
I went in the room and he was laying on the floor with his pants to his knees.
What's going through your head at that point?
Were you in here to rape my daughter, to take my daughter? What were you doing in my house?
Ms. Peoples says she didn't wait for Meza, who apparently smelled like he had been drinking, to answer her questions.
I went mom at that point. I gripped him up, tried to get them together, trying to see who he is, kicked him down the steps.
And out the door. However, according to Peebles, Meza decided to hang around a little longer on her home's front porch. And that's when Peebles, a licensed firearms owner, grabbed her pistol.
If somebody kicked me down some steps, how you come sit on the porch? He sat on the porch. I watched him on the camera. That's what made me open the door and start firing in the air.
Peebles says she fired 2 rounds into the air. And with that, Meza, still with his pants down around his ankles, stumbled into the home next door where he was apparently staying. Not long after police arrived, and according to court records, Meza was found hiding next door upstairs under a pile of blankets in a closet. Peebles says she doesn't know who lives next door and is all for being a good neighbor, but told KDKA,
they better not walk over here because I don't feel safe no more.
Miguel Angel Meza, meanwhile, remains in the Allegheny County Jail, facing criminal trespass and public drunkenness charges. In the East Hills section of Pittsburgh, Ross Gadati, KDKA TV News.
Now at 8, dramatic new video of a shootout between LAPD officers and a man with a gun.
Yeah, KCAL assignment editor Mike Rogers at the desk now. Mike, we told our viewers about the shooting when this happened, and now we have that video.
And that video is intense, Juan and Susie. Probably one of the more intense videos that we've seen come across the desk when it relates to these body camera videos that we get pretty frequently. Now, I'll show you what happened in this one. LAPD says their Southwest Patrol officers noticed people loitering out in front of a liquor store. This is the person that ultimately the officers engage with. You see him go back inside of the liquor store as soon as he sees the patrol car coming. Now, the officers decide to stop. They get out of their patrol cars and they walk inside of that liquor store. Now, once they're inside, you see the suspect. He is standing there looking at some items on a shelf there. The officers from Southwest Division begin to speak with him, and the LAPD says as they begin to speak with him, that's when they start to notice that he may have a gun under his shirt. You see the male officer there. He starts to try to get the suspect in handcuffs. He struggles with him. Watch this as the suspect runs to the back of the liquor store. He pulls out a gun and starts shooting at the officers. The officers then return fire.
I don't have no weapons,
Just relax.
sir.
Just relax.
Hey,
Just calm down. Get out. Get back. Three shots fired off, so Jefferson and 9th Ave.
Come out.
Get back.
There's an unreal amount of gunshots that are fired during this exchange, and you can see from the security camera video, this is the second volley where the man is standing in the doorway, allegedly shooting at the officers, according to the LAPD. All the while, there were still people in that store. We saw them. That suspect ultimately runs out. He is caught a few blocks away by responding officers. As you can see, he is injured, but he is standing there, conscious, breathing, and is ultimately taken into custody. He was going to the hospital to get a clearance to book. They did treat him for that gunshot wound. None of the officers in this were injured, remarkably so, though, by the amount of gunfire that happened there.
Incredible video, Mike. All right, thank you very much.
The deadly shooting caught on camera in West Baltimore, leading to questions about resident safety in the area. Fox 45's Keith Daniels, he's been following this story for us all night.
He joins us live right now with a look into the investigation and how city leaders are responding. Keith.
Well, Kai and Maxine, police have released, frankly, stunning images of that shooting. Two bold suspects caught on camera, and tonight those images and pressing a city leader about the safety of his constituents. On North Avenue, near Druid Hill Avenue in West Baltimore, there's peace at this hour. No sign of the daytime deadly gun violence that erupted earlier. The incident caught on camera. Police releasing the images with a tweet Wednesday. Investigators seeking the identity of the suspects. Look at them. They appear to be two males jumping out of a dark-colored car, both wearing black hoodies. One of them wearing yellow gloves, possibly hiding distinguished marks on his hands. Both with guns. They point the weapons down the block and open fire. The victim, 31-year-old Virgil Holland, with a gunshot wound to the head, killed about a half block away from his home. One man who lives in the area.
That's why I couldn't go to the store, okay.
After watching the video, saddened, then angered by what he saw. The gunfire in his community that potentially puts innocent bystanders in harm's way.
It makes things worse for everybody else. Like, everybody needs to go to the store here. This is our means of getting food, just coming out here to eat, and whatever else we need to do. Everything else is far away. You know, it's a convenience for us.
Their convenience on that day shattered by the bullets. The shooting happened last Friday, September 26th, just after 4 p.m. City Councilman James Torrance,
I know for sure that the way that our investigations are going, we're going to close this.
Who represents the district where the brazen shooting happened, was back on the block today. Outraged, he says. But beyond his outrage, we asked the councilman, despite the number of shootings and homicides in the city trending in the right direction, downward, what is he doing to help constituents who might not feel safe?
We are now building relationships in the community in West Baltimore where people feel safe enough to say, this person shot me. That is a big difference from the stop snitching culture. Our community is fighting back and working with us and trusting us. That's why we've removed people from communities who have been victims of crimes. We now are buying them and paying for apartments. We're giving them in safe places. We're getting them connected to violence interruption. We're getting them connected to therapy. We're getting them all those things.
Well, there's a reward for up to $8,000 for any information that leads to an arrest and charges in this case, but you've got to call Metro Crime Stoppers, the number here, and remember, you can remain anonymous. We're live tonight. Keith Daniels, Fox 45 News.
It was a revenge killing, according to investigators, but the family accused of planning a murder targeted the wrong man.
Mother and son were found guilty yesterday, and today they were sentenced. ABC 13's Jessica Willey is live with the jury's decision and the hunt for the fugitive father. All new at 10, Jess.
Yeah, tonight the mother and son are at the Harris County Jail awaiting transfer to prison. The mother was sentenced to 25 years, the son to 40 years. The victim's family tells me those punishments are fair. As for this case, investigators say this was a family affair. The murder of Eddie Clark III. He was targeted, though he did nothing wrong.
I think the jury saw that for what it was, which was a plan of attack.
Joe Argueta reacting to his 40-year sentence with sobs. Mom, Florinda Argueta, with her head down when sentenced to 25 years. The mother and son on trial for murder since last week. 2 out of the 4 family members charged in the mistaken identity death of Eddie Clark III.
Eddie was just on his way home from work. He had nothing to do with it. He was just living down the street, unfortunately, that night.
A neighbor's camera showed some of the confrontation from 2021. Clark driving the Dodge Charger boxed in by cars that deputies say were driven by the Argueta family. He turns around and speeds down the street as he's chased by people on foot. Joe, who was 19 at the time, admitted to firing multiple shots. Records say Clark, with a fatal wound, crashed into a tree. The sound caught on video. During trial, prosecutors argued it was all planned, though they targeted the wrong person. The Argueta home in the Westminster Landing subdivision in northwest Harris County had been repeatedly vandalized. So the family came up with a plan to, quote, take care of the problem. Text messages showed in court revealed that Joe told his girlfriend he didn't care about leaving a mom with no son. And on the morning of the deadly shooting, investigators said his mother texted that he could find the gun under the mattress.
And I think that was helpful in helping them see and understand the time and energy that went into this.
With 2 convicted and sentenced, there are 2 more to go. Joe's uncle, Margarito Alcantar, is in jail in the Valley, and Joe's father, Luis Argueta, is on the run, though believed to be out of the country. Recently named the first ever Houston's Most Wanted list, he has never been arrested, despite many public pleas.
Right now, the Clark family's only been able to see 50% of the people brought to justice, and we won't rest until we get 100% for them.
Jessica Willey, ABC 13, Eyewitness News.
Dates for 4 convicted killers on death row in Tennessee. State leaders paused executions for months. That move was tied to problems with the method of using 3 drugs for the process. Now, next year, the state is set to take the lives of the people on your screen. Gary Sutton, Tony Carruthers, Anthony Hines, and Krista Gale Pike. Pike is the only woman on death row in Tennessee, behind bars now for almost 3 decades.
10 News anchor Shay Smith joining us now. And Shay, her execution would mark the first time Tennessee has put a woman to death in more than 200 years.
That's right, John and Robin. Krista Pike is scheduled to be put to death by the state next September. Pike was sentenced to death in 1996 for the 1995 killing of Colleen Slemmer Pike. Pike and her boyfriend, Tadaryl Shipp, were both convicted of Slemmer's murder after Slemmer was tortured, mutilated, and killed. But it has taken almost 30 years for a death date to be set for Pike. I spoke to Slemmer's mother, who says she is patiently waiting for September 30th, 2026.
I would like Tennessee to hear my plea and finally end this after 30 years. I really would.
It's been 3 decades, but a painful chapter for Colleen Slemmer's family is on the verge of coming to an end.
Once it's completely done and everything is over with, it will be a close.
In 1995, 19-year-old Colleen Slemmer was brutally tortured, mutilated, and killed by Krista Gale Pike. A year after the killing, Pike was convicted of murdering Slemmer and was sentenced to death. Slemmer and Pike were taking part in a job training program here in Knoxville. Investigators say Pike, her boyfriend, Tadaryl Shipp, and friend, Shadala Peterson, lured Slemmer into Tyson Park on the night of January 12th. Once there, the couple then taunted and attacked Slemmer with a box cutter and small cleaver. Pike and Shipp carved pentagrams into Slemmer's chest and on her forehead. Pike then repeatedly hit Slemmer in the head with a chunk of asphalt until she was dead. She then took a piece of Slemmer's skull with her when they left the scene. Later, investigators say Pike bragged about the killing and celebrated it. She even showed another classmate the piece of Slemmer's bone. Very soon after, though, the 3 of them were arrested for her murder. In 1996, a jury quickly found Pike guilty and sentenced her to death. Shipp was convicted the following year of murder and was sentenced to life in prison. Peterson denied any involvement in the murder, but made a plea deal and admitted to being an accessory after the murder. But it has taken 30 years for an execution date to be set for Pike, something Slemmer's mother says has taken far too long.
For Krista to keep on having appeals and keep going back and forth to court and everything, it's hard. It really is.
While in jail, Pike was also convicted of attempted murder for trying to kill another inmate. She was also investigated for trying to convince a man to help her escape prison. Slemmer's mother says if the execution goes through next year, this painful chapter will finally end. She can move forward, and Colleen will finally rest in peace. Now I am joined now by 10 News executive investigative producer John North. And John, you first worked this case back in the mid-90s, and it's been 30 years since this killing. What has taken so long for this execution date to be set?
Well, if you are facing death in the United States, you get lots of chances to test your case, to appeal, and that's what's been going on for many, many years.
And the execution is set for almost exactly 1 year, but that's a lot of time between now and then. Is there anything that could happen that could potentially impact that date?
Honestly, Shay, there's no telling what could happen. There could be some kind of a decision, there could be some kind of interference, there could be some problem that evolves. You just never know. So it's a date that's been set. That's our guidance at this point, really.
And John, she is the only woman on death row, but there's no execution chambers in the jail that she is being held at, the prison, excuse me. Where will her execution take place?
She will be executed at Riverbend. That's where all the male inmates are held, but because that's where the state's death chamber is, she will be taken there, and that's where she will be executed.
All right, thanks, Sean. And as we said, her execution date is set for September 30th of next year. And John North, you and Robin also have a Behind the Headlines podcast that you all are working on this case.
We are. That will be coming in the next few weeks. We will be hearing from the journalists, including John, who covered this story, this extensive story for us and for other outlets. So you can find that on WBIR Plus in the coming weeks. Shay, John, thank you very much.
What? Dozens of people living together inside of a Tampa mansion and treated like slaves. Those are just some of the accusations against two church leaders who were busted last month in a series of nationwide raids. The new details are laid out in court documents for Michelle Brannon, who lived at the Tampa mansion, as federal prosecutors ask a judge to hold her in jail through her trial. Fox 13's Aaron Mesmer has been following this since last month. So Aaron, what are we learning today?
Allie, first of all, this is the first time since the raids last month that we're getting an idea of what investigators found at that mansion in Avila. When federal agents raided a massive mansion in Tampa's upscale Avila community last month, Skyfox captured some eye-opening images. Court documents released this week reveal what exactly authorities found. Several Mercedes-Benz and Bentley sedans topped with gift bows and crates containing life-sized expensive stone statues and decorative pillars for landscape installation.
They're not using the money for good. They're literally using it to fund their very lavish lifestyle.
A lifestyle that for David E. Taylor and his Kingdom of God Global Church included several properties across the country that were all busted. Since then, Leslie Portillo has been following the case closely. She used to work for Taylor but left after witnessing his alleged abuse.
I did see David Taylor get aggressive with the staff.
On Tuesday, she was stunned to learn what else investigators say they found at the Avila mansion. According to prosecutors, the church's executive director, Michelle Brannon, was living there, and she's accused of having 57 workers and victims, some underage, living with her, all part of a forced labor scheme. Authorities say the victims were crammed into shared living spaces, sleeping on floors, and forced by Taylor and Brannon to work long hours for free. Prosecutors say workers had to raise money for the church or face abuse.
They're not getting paid for anything. They're literally like brainwashed to think like they're volunteering their time to do, ministry work.
Investigators say Taylor and Brannon collected $50 million and used most of it for themselves. New court documents reveal Brannon even had $500,000 in gold bars and $60,000 in cash in her bedroom. The details were released this week as part of Brandon's bond hearing in Michigan.
The family members have been waiting for so many years for their family member, for their loved one to come back.
Leslie's good friend never made it back to her family. She passed away from cancer while still working for the church. Leslie says the victims deserve justice.
Unfortunately, too many people were hurt in the midst of all of this. So I know it's going to be a process, but I know we are going to find out the truth.
Brandon was due in court for her bond hearing in Detroit today, where this federal investigation was launched. Again, prosecutors say she's a flight risk, and they worry that she would try to manipulate victims. And we're waiting to hear the results of her hearing. Allie.
All right, Aaron Mesmer in the newsroom tonight. Aaron, thank you.
New developments in the fire that destroyed a Cobb County church. Police say the woman who set the fire is now charged with arson and other offenses. The church pastor says that woman made threats to him and the church. Channel 2's Audrey Washington is live now in Austell. Audrey, the pastor believes that woman was not well.
Right. He actually told me that only a demon would burn down a church like this. Right now, we are actually standing behind the tape here. But when my photographer Dana pushes in, you can really see how the fire gutted the church. The roof is gone. The newly renovated office space, burnt rubble.
You have to be possessed by a demon to do something like that.
Pastor Raphael Grant says only evil would move a person to pour gasoline inside of a church and then set it on fire. But that's exactly what police said this woman, Aries Jordan, did on Monday night.
You cannot be a logical, rational human being to do that.
We flew News Chopper 2 over Prayer City Eagles Chapel International Ministries in Austell. You can see how the flames ripped through the church and left it a charred mess.
We were not expecting this, but we had some signs.
Members, along with the pastor, say they were not surprised by the arrest. They tell us Jordan, who once came to the church to be, quote, delivered, threatened to burn down the church in the past. They showed us these text messages.
She made mention that she was going to burn down the church.
Pastor Grant says he reported the threats to the police.
We took it to court and everything. Yes. She was arrested and released.
According to the warrant, Jordan faces a slew of charges, including arson, criminal damage, and terroristic threats. Right now, Pastor Grant says he's focused on rebuilding. The church started a GoFundMe campaign.
The place is completely gone, and so we have to build from the scratch, and so we need all the financial support in order to do that.
And we posted the GoFundMe link to our website. That's WSBTV.com. Now, we also asked the pastor about his plans for a Sunday service. That's a part of the story we're putting together, all new for Channel 2 Action News at 6. Right now, we are live here in Cobb County. Audrey Washington, Channel 2 Action News.
Have you ever watched? Off the top at 5, we begin with breaking news. Investigators are asking for your help this evening to track down a convicted killer that was accidentally released from prison.
James, 45 Daniels, was serving time for his crime in Lake City. That's about an hour away from Gainesville. At least one of his crimes playing out here in Opelika. Good evening. I'm Lauren Pastrana.
And I'm Elliot Rodriguez. Multiple agencies are on the case tonight trying to find him and figure out how this happened. CBS News Miami's Larry Seward is joining us live from Sweetwater. And Larry, this man is considered armed and dangerous, right?
That is what authorities are telling us, and we're getting bits and pieces from different agencies. Just getting a statement moments ago that I want to share with you from the Miami-Dade County Sheriff's Office that James Edward Daniels was released from the TGK facility here in Miami-Dade County by mistake. According to the U.S. Marshals here, who are leading the search for him at this hour, along with FBI agents, they are saying that he was being transferred to Miami-Dade County to begin serving time for local charges when this happened. Meanwhile, again, we mentioned the Miami-Dade Sheriff's Office releasing that statement about Daniels being mistakenly released. They did not provide details. They say they are investigating, but they did release this wanted flyer. James Edward Daniels is 60 years old and goes by the nickname 45. Authorities consider him armed and dangerous because of the nature of the crimes that put Daniels in prison. 5 years ago, authorities say Daniels and at least 2 others kidnapped, tortured, and robbed 3 men in Opa-locka. 2 of those men died. Daniels served state time at the Columbia Correctional Institution in Lake City, Florida. Sunday, U.S. Marshals here tell us they learned that he was no longer in custody. Again, they say that Daniels was being transferred, but right as we were coming on air, a statement from the Miami-Dade Corrections and Rehabilitations Department says that he was released from the Turner Guilford Knight Correctional Center due to a procedural error. That is something that it's a top priority to investigate how this happened, and a full internal affairs investigation is underway. Meanwhile, the priority is finding Daniels. That is a search, again, the U.S. Marshals leading FBI agents involved with. We'll have more on this story coming up at 6. For now, we're live in downtown Miami. Larry Seward, CBS News.
New developments. The Gwinnett County mother accused of helping her kids beat up a teenager is back in jail. Police say this time she let kids use drugs inside her home. Channel 2's Gwinnett County Bureau Chief Matt Johnson is live near Snellville. Matt, neighbors are very concerned for the kids in the house.
That's right. Concern for those kids and concern for their own safety as well. We tried to speak to somebody in the home today, an adult, but she didn't want to be interviewed. Meanwhile, this latest arrest raises some serious questions about what's going on in the home. Barely 7 months after police say she orchestrated a brutal attack on a Little Caesars employee.
I'm thankful that I'm alive.
Jasmine Landers is back behind bars, facing new felony drug charges after what police say they found in her home.
We hear gunshots from there all the time.
Gwinnett County police arrested the 35-year-old mother last week at the same home near Snellville, where police say she let children drink and do drugs. Photos from neighbors on Friday show police discovering what they say were THC gummies and psychedelic mushrooms inside the home, along with more evidence that children were using drugs.
I don't understand that. Like, how are you allowing underage drinking and drugs and all of that right there as a mother?
The new arrest comes as Landers awaits trial from charges stemming from an attack in March. That's when prosecutors say she coached her children by phone on how to assault a teenage coworker.
I could hear Jasmine saying, "It's the Hispanic, the one without glasses."
Police say Landers' daughter and 2 sons burst through a back door at the Centerville Highway location and kicked the victim until she lost consciousness.
The last thing I remember seeing is literally a boot to my face.
Their mother was arrested after that attack, but now faces new felony drug charges and remains held in jail without bond. Her 20-year-old son has been in jail since that Little Caesars attack. It's unclear how many kids are still in the home. Live in Gwinnett County, Matt Johnson, Channel 2 Action News.
That is not a good situation for any of them, though, Matt. Thank you.
Were you sexually? First, today we now know a local rapper and his cousin will spend the rest of their lives in prison. Hakeem Robinson, also known as Queso, along with Leroy Whitaker Jr., were sentenced today in the death of Charles McCormick Jr. Our Haja Baj joined us live outside the Duval County Courthouse this evening. And Haja, tell us more about what happened inside the courtroom.
Yeah, guys, I was in the courtroom today when Robinson and Whitaker found out they'll be spending the rest of their lives behind bars without parole. Now, both men declined to speak as the judge announced their sentences.
His life was taken unjustly, and the ripple effect of the act that has forever changed his family, friends, and community. But it brings some kind of relief knowing that this individual will no longer have the power to take another life.
Is there anything you wish to say? Okay. By unanimous verdict, and at this time this court will then adjudicate you guilty of that offense and sentence you to the only lawful sentence that this court can impose, and that is mandatory life in prison without the eligibility for parole.
Jacksonville rapper Hakeem Robinson, also known as Queso, and his cousin Leroy Whitaker Jr. were sentenced Wednesday to life in prison without parole for the 2020 killing of 23-year-old Charles McCormick Jr. According to the police, McCormick was shot on January 15, 2020 at Dames Point Plaza in Arlington. An off-duty officer witnessed the shooting and said the gunman stood over McCormick and fired a rifle before fleeing in a Nissan Altima. The officer pursued the car until it crashed. 3 people ran from the scene. Robinson and Whitaker were later arrested and charged with first-degree murder. A jury unanimously found Robinson guilty for first-degree murder on July 31st of this year. Family members of McCormick were in the courtroom, sharing their grief and sending a message to the community.
We pray that this moment causes reflection, not only for those being sentenced, but for anyone listening. One reckless moment, one decision can destroy many lives, including your own. As a community, we must take a stand against music and messages that glorify real violence and the loss of innocent lives.
Now, Hakeem Robinson's team will be back in the courtroom later this month to discuss attorney fees, and of course will continue to provide more updates as it develops. Reporting live outside the Duval County Courthouse, Hajibah, First Coast News, on your side.
The suspect accused of opening fire on Bourbon Street and killing one woman is still on the run.
That's what police are saying, and we now know the person killed was a mother from Chicago. The coroner identified her as 33-year-old Jessica Williams. WDSU reporter Shay O'Connor live from Bourbon Street with what witnesses say unfolded. Shay.
Gina and Sella, what we do know is that Jessica Williams was in town celebrating her birthday. In fact, social media posts from that night show Jessica with money on her clothes along the street, having the time of her life before it was sadly taken away.
I don't visit Bourbon, I don't go on Bourbon, any of that, because it's always something on Bourbon.
Strong words from a mother who says one of the most popular streets in America is the home of crime she wishes she didn't witness. Sunday morning, Jay says she was riding on Canal Street when all of a sudden traffic came to a standstill. She got out of her vehicle to see what was happening.
And once we got out, we saw the victim's sister that was shot. She was shot in her back. The two police officers walked her up from Bourbon to Canal Street. And once she got to Canal Street, she kind of collapsed.
Jay says she ran over to see if she could assist.
She was screaming for them to get away from her, to help her sister, to save her sister, that they were from out of town.
Then,
after they got her into the ambulance, then we seen a second victim. He was covered in blood. He looked lifeless, just kind of just limp on the stretcher. It was a very, very, very traumatic experience.
Jay says she went home shaken up, later finding out the extent of what she saw. New Orleans police say 33-year-old Jessica Williams was shot and killed while celebrating her birthday in town from Chicago, her sister included. It is believed Jessica and her sister were innocent bystanders, and that a fight potentially led to the gunfire.
Well, that's definitely scary, especially for your birthday. Like, you're out here to try to have fun, and that's the last thing anybody wants, especially coming out of the group.
This man seen with a gray and black hoodie is believed to have pulled the trigger.
Something needs to happen to ensure that the tourists that come from out of town are safe here, because after a while, nobody's going to want to visit New Orleans.
And not much is known about Jessica other than her traveling from Chicago, also being a mother. I should also note that a lot of people who live and work in this area tell me they're still trying to get over the terror from the terror attack on January 1st. So this definitely rattled a lot of people. If you do know anything at all that could lead to an arrest, you're being urged to contact Crime Stoppers at 822-1111. Reporting live from along Bourbon Street, Shay O'Connor, WDSU News.
All right, road rage lands a couple behind bars. They're accused of firing a gun while their child was in the car. Thanks for joining us tonight. I'm Luann Sorrell.
And I'm John Brown. Orlando police say the mother opened fire while their baby was in the back seat. Fox 35's Manny Martinez joins us live with that story. So Manny, this happened right there on an I-4 on-ramp.
Yeah, John, right along Michigan Avenue. This is a busy stretch of road. Police say 2 shots fired right here with the bullets, police say, going through the other driver's door.
This Orlando couple spent the night under the same roof, but inside the walls of the Orange County Jail. Christopher Florestal and Sierra Gooden were arrested Tuesday. Orlando police say Florestal was driving this blue Chevy Cruze one morning 2 weeks ago with Gooden in the passenger seat and their 8-month-old baby in the back. Police say a driver reported Florestal cut him off along Michigan Avenue, and when the driver pulled up next to the couple, police say Gooden shot twice out her window. Cops found this shell casing near the I-4 on-ramp and say it came from the gun used by Gooden. Cops tracked the couple down just hours later with the help of surveillance cameras and plate readers. Police say Gooden admitted then to the shooting, saying with the baby in the back, she was worried about what the other driver could have done. Officers built their case and got arrest warrants, clamping the cuffs on Florestal near the scene of the crime, and then making a house call to arrest Gooden. He's charged with driving a vehicle from which shots are fired. She's charged with shooting into an occupied vehicle, shooting from a vehicle, and aggravated assault with a firearm. Case paperwork shows they were due to be married. Now they're due in court.
and both suspects could walk out of jail at any moment. A judge decided today to grant them release on bond. As far as we know from the paperwork that we found in this case, the other driver was not hers. We're live in Orlando. Manny Martinez, Fox 35 News.
Manny, thank you.
A violent robbery at a Reseda car wash. Surveillance cameras rolling as a nursing student is pushed to the ground before losing her life savings. That robbery victim just came from the bank. Fox 11's Chelsea Edwards is live now in Van Nuys with the exclusive story for us. Chelsea.
Susan, police believe that the thieves followed her from the bank to the car wash, then waited till she wasn't paying attention to rob her, not once, but twice. A brazen robbery caught on camera. Watch as this white Jeep pulls up next to a woman cleaning her car at a Reseda car wash. While she vacuums, someone sneaks in and grabs her purse. The victim, who goes by Anahita, didn't hear a thing. But then the robber comes back.
The first attempt he did, he grabbed my purse, and then he did not find the money. And when I just finished vacuuming, I put the vacuum back to the station, he jumped into the car and then opened the glove compartment and then took my wallet with my all credit card and then the cash money that I got it from the bank. I started screaming and then I hang into the door. The guy took the money and then he pushed me to the ground and then they drove away. Yeah, I got some bruises on my rib side and then scratches on my knee because he pushed me so hard.
Anahita had just taken $4,000 in cash out from a nearby bank, money the second-year nursing school student had saved to help bring her parents to the U.S. from Iran.
It was very important for me because it was all money that I had.
Anahita studies full-time. She works full-time as a caregiver. And now her dream of reuniting her family is on hold.
A person like me works so hard for money, going to school, going to work. And then when you're doing this, you're not just ruining the person's life, you are ruining the trust among the whole community.
A friend helped set up this GoFundMe in hopes the community will now rally around her. Police told her the Jeep was stolen and the thieves likely followed her from the bank to the car wash. So far, no one's been caught.
Don't belong to be in the society, they belong to be in the jail.
Now, we do have a link to that GoFundMe on our website, foxla.com. Anahita says any little bit would help so much and would be so greatly appreciated. Now, police say they are investigating. Nobody has been caught yet, but anyone with information who might help bring those thieves to justice should come forward. Reporting live from Van Nuys, I'm Chelsea Edwards, Fox 11 News. Susan?
Chelsea, she was clearly focused on the car. Did she even see one or both of the suspects?
Not the first time. So he goes in the first time. She didn't notice that had happened. But if you look in the video, you can see she looks through the car the second time and sees him, runs around and then tries to stop him. She said she got a clear look at the suspect. She's given that description to police. And then they took off in that car, which again, police believe was stolen. So, it really just...
Yeah,
wild thing that happened and certainly seemed targeted. The way that they did it, the way they parked up next to her, the way they knew that she had a vast amount of cash in the car and went back to get it, it certainly seems like they knew what they were doing.
Right, that she was targeted. All right, Chelsea, thank you.
State and deadly shooting in Glendale left 3 children without their mother. Relatives identified Kamonte McFarland as the woman killed near Shasta Drive and Custer Avenue late Monday night. 12 News' Kendall Keys is there live tonight where loved ones gathered to remember McFarland.
Right, Derek, there's a crowd of her loved ones here in front of her house. They brought flowers and pictures of her and balloons. Her family tells me she was a mother to a son and twin daughters. I asked her own mom about that.
She was a great mom. She took after her mom. She took them kids everywhere they needed to go and taught them what they're supposed to know. And I'm proud of her, dead or alive. I'm proud of my baby.
Tonight, her family returned to her home bringing flowers and candles with them to remember the Glendale mother. She was a dental hygienist at Milwaukee Health Services for nearly 19 years. The shooting happened late Monday. Concerned neighbors calling 911 after hearing gunfire and screams down Shasta Drive in Glendale late Monday night. The family says the shooting is a result of domestic violence.
Come to see, to make sure this raise awareness to domestic violence. First red flag you see, man or a woman, get out of it because it can lead to this right here. And this hurts. It hurts really bad.
Now, I asked Glendale police if this is a result of domestic violence and if they referred criminal charges to the district attorney's office. They have not answered those questions here tonight. Family, though, tells me they will be donating Kamanti's organs.
Kendall Keys reporting live in Glendale for us tonight.
Elsewhere, the suspected co-ringleader of an illegal marijuana grow operation was arrested in her R.N.R. Beach home.
The noise is what woke me up. They had a bullhorn saying come out of the house or something.
In all, 5 people in total arrested, including a husband and wife described as the ringleaders, with coordinated arrests going down early Wednesday morning in Seattle, Federal Way, and Lakewood. Skyro 7's Deborah Horn reports neighbors say they long suspected something illegal was going on inside that Lakewood house.
Were you here when the bus went down on Wednesday?
Yes, at 4:20 we saw spotlights and heard 8319, come out with your hands up.
That was the early morning wake-up call Wednesday morning for Tony Porturis and her neighbors who live around Maybell Lane Southwest.
The pictures I have, they're backing out of the house. The cops have their guns drawn.
She saw 56-year-old Hui Chen, identified as a ringleader, and another alleged accomplice. The scene repeated at 3 different homes in 2 counties early Wednesday morning. A reported 11 state and local agencies from Pierce and King counties, led by Lakewood police, moved in to break up what they say was an organized illegal marijuana grow operation. Chen's wife, Eileen Hai, also described as a ringleader, arrested in Seattle at their R.N.R. Beach home with the Lake Washington view.
Were you surprised?
Yeah. Yeah, they're very quiet people down there.
Did you have any inkling that they were growing marijuana?
None at all.
The couple came to the attention of law enforcement back in 2018 when this house they owned in Federal Way caught fire, exposing a marijuana grow operation. It was here last week that 2 additional accomplices were taken into custody. Tony Porturis says the state needs stiffer laws to combat this.
If I want to put a storage shed in my yard, I have to get a permit through the city of Lakewood. How about a grow operation? So, I don't know what else to say.
Deborah Horn reporting there. Neighbors do say some people showed up at the house on Saturday and cleared out more stuff with the help of Lakewood police, even though neighbors told us this remains a crime scene. The Pierce County jail roster also shows 5 people have been bailed out.
We end today's show with the words of Assata Shakur, who died in Havana, Cuba, Thursday at the age of 78. She was a legendary figure within the Black Panther Party and the Black Liberation Army. Assata Shakur was convicted in the May 2nd, 1973 killing of a New Jersey state trooper during a shootout that left one of her fellow activists dead. She was shot twice by police during the incident. In 1979, she managed to escape from jail and flee to Cuba, where she received political asylum. She long proclaimed her innocence. In 1998, Democracy Now! Aired her reading an open letter to Pope John Paul II during his trip to Cuba. She wrote the message after New Jersey state troopers sent the Pope a letter asking him to call for her extradition. This is Assata Shakur.
My name is Assata Shakur, and I was born and raised in the United States. I am a descendant of Africans who were kidnapped and brought to the Americas as slaves. I spent my early childhood in the racist segregated South. I later moved to the northern part of the country where I realized that black people were equally victimized by racism and oppression. I grew up and became a political activist, participating in student struggles, the anti-war movement, and most of all, in the movement for the liberation of African Americans in the United States. I later joined the Black Panther Party, an organization that was targeted by the COINTELPRO program, a program that was set up by the Federal Bureau of Investigation to eliminate all political opposition to the U.S. government's policies, to destroy the Black liberation movement in the United States, to discredit activists, and to eliminate potential leaders. Under the COINTELPRO program, many political activists were harassed, imprisoned, murdered, or otherwise neutralized. As a result of being targeted by COINTELPRO, I, like many other young people, was faced with the threat of prison, underground, exile, or death. The FBI, with the help of local police agencies, systematically fed false accusations and fake news articles to the press, accusing me and other activists of crimes we did not commit. Although in my case the charges were eventually dropped or I was eventually acquitted, the national and local police agencies created a situation where, based on their false accusations against me, any police officer could shoot me on sight. It was not until the Freedom of Information Act was passed in the mid-'70s that we began to see the scope of the United States government's persecution of political activists. At this point, I think that it is important to make one thing very clear. I have advocated, and I still advocate, revolutionary changes in the structure and in the principles that govern the United States. I advocate self-determination for my people and for all oppressed people inside the United States. I advocate an end to capitalist exploitation, the abolition of racist policies, the eradication of sexism, and the elimination of political repression. If that is a crime, then I am totally guilty. To make a long story short, I was captured in New Jersey in 1973 after being shot with both arms held in the air and then shot again from the back. I was left on the ground to die, and when I did not, I was taken to a local hospital where I was threatened, beaten, and tortured. In 1977, I was convicted in a trial that can only be described as a legal lynching. In 1979, I was able to escape with the aid of some of my fellow comrades. I saw this as a necessary step, not only because I was innocent of the charges against me, but because I knew that the racist legal system in the United States, I would receive no justice. I was also afraid that I would be murdered in prison. I later arrived in Cuba, where I am currently living in exile as a political refugee. The New Jersey State Police and other law enforcement officials say they want to see me brought to justice. But I would like to know what they mean by justice. Is torture justice? I was kept in solitary confinement for more than 2 years, mostly in men's prisons. Is that justice? My lawyers were threatened with imprisonment and imprisoned. Is that justice? I was tried by an all-white jury without even the pretext of impartiality and then sentenced to life in prison plus 33 years. Is that justice? Let me emphasize that justice for me is not the issue I am addressing here. It is justice for my people that is at stake. When my people receive justice, I am sure that I will receive it too. I ask nothing for myself. I only ask you to examine the social reality of the United States and to speak out against the human rights violations that are taking place. On this day, the birthday of Martin Luther King, I am reminded of all those who gave their lives for freedom. Most of the people who live on this planet are still not free. I ask only that you continue to work and pray to end oppression and political repression. It is my heartfelt belief that all the people on this earth deserve justice, social justice, political justice, and economic justice. I believe it is the only way we will ever achieve peace and prosperity on this earth. I hope that you enjoy your visit to Cuba. This is not a country that is rich in material wealth, but it is a country that is rich in human wealth, spiritual wealth, and moral wealth. Respectfully yours, Assata Shakur, Havana, Cuba.